creating a database and adding tables. In Microsoft Access, go to the File tab and click New. You can choose Blank Database or use an Office.com template. We're going to select Blank Database. Then you'll be asked to create a name for this database. So type in a name and click Create. You'll then see this Access screen. What you have now is a blank database. You're ready to start entering data, but to remember, to add data, we must first create tables. Let's learn to do that now. To create a new table, go to the Create tab. You'll see it just to the right of the File and the Home tabs. Click on Table to add a table. Access creates one table for you by default, so when we do this, we'll now have two tables, as you can see. You can click on the Table 1 or Table 2 tab to navigate between tables. On the left-hand side of the screen, right-click Table 1 and select Design View. There are several different views in Access 2013, which we'll cover later in this course. For now, open Design View. This is where you can design the table by determining what fields you want to store in the table. Access will ask you to name the table. Enter a table name and click OK. We're going to name ours Books. In Design View, you can go ahead and name the table columns and apply constraints over them within field properties at the bottom of the screen. By clicking on the ID, you can also add your primary key. We're going to make our primary key ISBN. We'll write that in the field name column. This is the name of the field or column. So with the text that's highlighted, type in ISBN. Next, we'll tab over or press tab to the data type column and specify the type of data to be entered into the ISBN field by pressing the tab key. Select number. Next, we'll tab over to description and type a description of the data entered in the field. To go back to the previous field at any stage, hold Shift and press Tab. We can enter in information so that this table also has an author, title, publication date, price, and genre fields. When we've finished entering all the fields for a table, this is what we'll have. You might notice the key beside the ISBN field. This is our primary key. Once you've finished with this, change to the datasheet view. You can do this in two ways. By clicking on the icon in the bottom right hand side of the screen, or by clicking the drop-down arrow under the View button on the Design tab. You can also click on the button at the top of the view, which will change it to the datasheet view. You'll be prompted to save the table. Then you'll be able to enter information into it. Click on Yes. The description field is optional when you enter field information. However, when you enter it, it will show in many places, such as the bottom left of the window when you're in this datasheet view. This can be helpful for data entry when reading tables at a later date. There are several ways to add data to a table, which we'll learn as the course goes on. The easiest way is to enter data into the table when you're in datasheet view. This looks and works similar to an Excel spreadsheet file. As we discussed earlier, the columns represent pieces of information and the row is a single record for all of that information. We've entered the following information into our books table. It's good to enter it now, as the next few lessons involve getting the data from these tables. You can enter this data by typing it into the cell and then pressing Tab or clicking on the next cell. Once you enter the data into the blank line, a new blank line will appear. Your table should now look like this. If the columns are not wide enough to see the values, you can make them wider by moving your mouse to the borders of the columns until this icon appears. You can then click and drag to make it wider, or you can double click to make it fit to contents. Now we're going to create a second table, and then link it to the first table. This is the main benefit of creating a database. It allows you to create separate sets of data and link them together to keep your information organised. We're going to create a simple orders table. This table will store some data about orders that have been made for books. Traditionally, order tables can be quite complicated. Orders can have multiple items, items can belong to multiple orders, and orders can have different prices or discounts. For our example though, we're going to make it simple. We're going to say you can only have one book per order. There are no price changes, and only some information about the destination of the order. To create the second table, click on the Create tab, and then on Table, just as we did earlier. A new table will now be created. Go to Design View by clicking on the View drop-down and selecting Design View. Access will first ask you to save the table. Enter orders and click OK. Now into the following fields into the Design View for this table. We can see there's a field here called Auto Number. An Auto Number field is a special type of field in Microsoft Access. It is a number field, and each value is unique and automatically generated by Microsoft Access. It's good for ID numbers and for primary keys, which, as we learned earlier, need to be unique. Once you've entered your columns, your design view should look like this. Save your database by going to the File tab and clicking on Save. Now click on the View button to go back to Datasheet View. Your table will start like this. You now need to enter some values for the orders. Enter these values for the orders. You can just press Tab when you select the Order ID field, as you don't need to type anything in for this Auto Number field. Your table should now look like this. We now have two tables, Books and Orders. It's now time to link them together. We only need these two tables at the moment, so if you have any other tables you've created, you can delete them. To delete them, right-click on them in the navigation pane and select Delete. If this message appears, it means the table is still open. So close this dialog box, go up to the tabs here at the top, right-click on the table that's still open, and select Close. The table should now be removed. If it isn't, you can delete it. To be able to link these tables together, we need a field in both tables that match. They don't even need to be the same name. They just need to contain the same data. Normally, you would use some kind of ID number, whether it's a real number such as social security or phone number, or made up number like employee ID or author ID. This is good database design, as you want the field that links the tables, which is the ID, to be different to the label for those fields, such as book title or order destination, in case the labels change. In this example, we'll be using the ISBN to link the two tables. Save the table, then click on the Table tab. Click on the Relationships button. If no relationships are created, this form will be displayed. This view will show you each of the tables you have and how they relate to each other. First, we'll need to specify what tables to show. In this window here, you see all the tables and queries available in your database. If you just want to see tables, click on the Tables tab. If you want to see queries, click on the Queries tab. And for both, click on the Both tab. At the moment, we only have tables. Select the tables or queries you want to create relationships for, and click on Add. You may press the Control key to select more than one. Otherwise, select them individually. In this list, we have both tables. After you've added them, click Close. This relationship view is now shown. This shows our two tables, Books and Orders. In each table are the fields. It also shows a small key icon next to the primary key, which is the unique identifier for the table. We need to join these two tables together so they're related. To do this, first work out what fields we want to join on. In this example, we'll use the ISBN as it exists in both tables. Because the ISBN field is being used for our relationship, it can be called a primary key and a foreign key, which we learnt earlier. The primary key is the field that defines the record. The foreign key is the field that identifies it in the related table. It's important that we get these around the right way. In most cases, the primary key in one table, so the Books table, is the foreign key in another table, in the Orders table. This is what we'll use. If you're not sure, here's a way I use to work it out, because sometimes I forget as well. I ask myself two questions to work out which is the primary table and which is the foreign table. Does table 1 have many table 2s, or does a table 2 have many table 1s? So in this example, I would ask, does a book have many orders, or does an order have many books? We've stated earlier that an order can only have one book for this example, so it means that the first question is correct. The book has many orders. This also means that the book is the primary table and the orders is the foreign table. So click on the ISBN field in the books table. Click and drag the word ISBN in the books table onto the word ISBN in the orders table. And now let go of your mouse. Don't worry if you let go on the wrong field, as we can fix this in a moment. This Edit Relationships dialog box will now appear. This means that the ISBN field in the books table will be related to the ISBN field in the orders table. If you've dragged the field onto the wrong spot, you can change the fields in this list to match what is shown. There are a few options at the bottom of this screen. Enforce referential integrity. This means you must select a value in the primary table, books, that exists in another related table, for example, authors. For example, if you enter a new book and need to specify an author, the value must exist in the author name field in one of the records in the authors table. It's a good idea to check this option. Cascade update related fields. This means that when you update the value in the author name field in the authors table, any related records in the books table get updated. Cascade delete related records. This means that if you delete a record in the authors table, any records that have the author in the books table will also be deleted. Click Create when you're done. If you get this message when you click Create, it means that you can't make the changes because the table is already open. Click OK, and then click Cancel. Close the table, then create the relationship again using the same steps. Once the relationship is created, the relationship view will look like this. You'll have a line between the two tables, which matches the two fields you've linked. In this case, it's ISBN. At the end of the line will be a symbol. The 1 and the infinity symbol indicate what's called a one-to-many relationship. It means that one record in one table relates to many records in another table. In this example, it means that one book record has many order records. So, a book can be in multiple orders, it can be ordered more than once, but an order can't have more than one book. A helpful feature of Access 2013 is the ability to easily view related data once a relationship is set up. We can go into our books table and see what orders relate to that book. Open the books table by double-clicking on it in the navigation pane here. You can see on the far left of each record is a plus symbol. This indicates that the record can be expanded. Click on the plus symbol for a record. Access will show a smaller table underneath, which displays all of the records in the order table that have that book. You can also enter new data in here too, which may be easier than remembering the ISBN and adding it to the other table. Now that we've started to create our first database, we want to make sure we save it if we leave Access to work on something else, or just want to make sure we save every so often as we work. To save a database, click on the File tab. On the left side, you'll have two options. Click Save to save the database as the current file name, or if you want to save it under a different name, click Save Database As. You might see a message that says all open objects must be closed prior to continuing this operation. If you've saved your table, click Yes. If you haven't saved your database yet, or wish to save it as a different file name by using the Save As option, you may be asked for a location. Choose the location where you want to save your database on your computer, enter a name for the database, and click Save. To save a particular table, go to the File tab, click on Save As, and then click on Save Object As. You can then save the current database object as a new object. To open an existing database, you can go to the File tab and click on Open. Search for the database on your computer. Select the database that you want to open and then click on Open.